Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Hey Jay. We take weekly questions and we discuss things like commercial real estate, tips and tricks for investing, and much more. We hope you guys will write in and make it kind of fun. So without further ado, here's another episode of Hey Jay. So one of the questions we received from last week was from a follower, and they were wondering about what is adaptive reuse and where do we see it going in the future. So adaptive reuse is you're taking an existing property, oftentimes it's a fairly older property, maybe it's a church or a warehouse or some sort of structure that's been standing for a while, and you're going to modify it so that it can be kept intact for the most part, but put to a new and improved use. The big thing with this is that you're not going to be keeping the use the same as what it was previously used for. So if it was a warehouse, you're going to not be using it as a warehouse. You might be making it into indoor climate controlled storage. You might be taking that church and turning it into apartments. It's not going to be used for the same primary use as what it was originally built. So you might be wondering what some of the benefits might be to using an older property like this over bulldozing and starting new. One of the first ones might be that you're going to be saving some money. A lot of times it's cheaper because you already have a lot of, public access, roads, water, sewer, things like that hooked up to an existing structure rather than having to completely start new. Another one you're going to see here is a lot of tax benefits. There's actually tax credits and things you can be eligible for with the government. In particular, there's a federal historic tax credit, which can offer up to 20% for the rehabilitation of historic structures. Another one would be being a little bit more environmentally sustainable. Not everyone cares about going green or the environment and things, but it is one way to cut down on pollution and, building materials, things like that. So while there are also a number of benefits, there are some challenges that go away with trying to rehabilitate an older property like this. First one is you might run into some physical complications due to the fact that they were built, a number of years ago. You might have to deal with having a post or something in the middle of your what you'd prefer to have a wide open area, just because that's how they was built for structural support. Another thing, you might have to deal with some, hazardous material. This could be asbestos, it could be lead paint. Things like that is a little bit expensive to remove because you have to do it safely and in the right way. Another difficult realization you might have to come to is getting your building up to code. Modern code is a lot more strict and has a lot more hoops you have to jump through than what the building was previously probably zoned and things for. So that might be a process to work with your local city government and agencies to make sure that whatever you're looking at using it for, it will be able to pass code. And some of these things is just hidden costs, and you might not know that until you get into a property and see some of those things. So then what are some of the takeaways here with the adaptive reuse? We see it as something that's going to be trending upwards here in the future, the next, decade, whatever. Eventually, it's inevitable. We will run out of space as more and more people congregate and places become more urbanized. So it's a great way to, conserve and reuse some of that space. As always, if you're looking at a property like this, take caution. Make sure you get it inspected. Make sure you reach out to your local government groups and things to make sure that it will, in fact, work for the type of purpose that you are considering before buying. If you're still struggling a little bit to comprehend where we might see some of these even around a place like Rochester, you can look over by the Olmsted County Fairgrounds. There's a new building called the Workshop. It was a former warehouse that they've now since converted into a barber shop, I believe a brewery, and a restaurant. So kind of repurposed it and given it some new life. You can look at some of the big box stores. We've added a place like Air Insanity into what used to be a big box store, and now it has become one of Rochester's premier indoor bounce facilities, a great entertainment option for the community. As always, thank you for watching. We hope you'll send in further questions that we can discuss. You can send those to jay@broshcommercial.com.